like this, 'cause the music makes me high. And if I only got one more night, I'm gonna leave out loud goodbye.
This gonna be the type of night they make movies about. Bitch niggas
What
get
up, what up,
drugged
what
out,
up? It's your boy,
talking
Mr.
loose.
Vine, Mr. Vine Channel Sweatbox. We back, we live, we active here on the channel, yes indeed. And it is the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 5. We got one episode left after this, folks. And, yeah, there's only a couple characters left. It's dwindling down. They winding it up. It's, I don't even know what this episode's called. It should be called Mad Queen. I believe that's what this episode should be called. I don't know what it's called, but let's start. The episode starts with Tyrion going to Dany. No, I don't remember. I don't even. But the first half of the episode, the first 10 minutes, excuse me, or so, of this episode is Dany mourning over Missandei and then finding out that Varys betrays her. Tyrion told her. They arrest Varys as he was sending out. I don't know if he sent it out because it looked like he had written multiple letters that he was sending out, and then he burned the last one. But I don't know if he sent any out. But anyway, they arrest Varys, and she burns him alive for treason. So there you go. R.I.P. Varys. One of the favorite characters to many people. And now he's gone. And he got burnt alive. And it was... I mean, it's tough. I love the scene with him and Tyrion where Tyrion told him, it was me. I'm sorry. Said goodbye to his oldest friend. And there you have it. Then you have a scene of... Man, it was... I don't even remember all the scenes because it was just so much chaos. So I'm sure I'm going to skip over some stuff, but I'm going to hit all the major points. You had the scene of Dany talking to Tyrion about the plans and yada yada. And then she finds out, and then she tells Tyrion that they captured Jaime trying to sneak through the lines. And she tells Tyrion, you betray me again, it'll be the last time. Dany at this point is gone. She's going to go. She's already decided. The armies are moving in. She's gonna sack King's Landing. She's gonna take Drogon. She's gonna sack King's Landing. Tyrion is still trying to talk her out of killing innocent people. He's trying to convince her to get Cersei to surrender. He goes to great lengths to do this, lengths that I believe will end up costing him his life next week in the final episode. But we'll see. Jaime was captured. He releases Jaime. They say their final farewells as brother because Jaime is going back to Cersei. Tyrion convinces Jaime to tell Cersei to get Cersei out of the city and go to Pentos and start over. Who cares? Jaime was going to be with Cersei. I don't think he was ever gonna. But Tyrion did tell Jaime, get them to ring the bell. And that'll open the gates, save the city. We're trying to keep it. So that happens. And in the middle of that, there's a lot happens. So forgive me if I'm all over the place. I just got done watching the episode, and there's a lot to process. Like I said, this is the penultimate, and man, the King's Landing fell. I mean, when I say King's Landing fell, so Arya and the Hound are on their way there. They sneak into the city as the gates are getting closed and they're trying to seal off the city. Jaime is able to get into the city before they close the gates. And then Arya and the Hound are able to get into the Red Keep before the gates get closed. But Jaime is not. Jaime wasn't able to get in before they closed the gate, so he had to find another way The Golden Company's out front of the in front of the gates of King's Landing, standing guard. They're facing off against the Unsullied and the Northern Army when Jon and those guys show up. Jon is really trying to save lives too. He's like, let's hope this surrender, yada, stuff like that. Man, like I said, please forgive me. I'm all over the place because this is a lot to take in. So the siege of the city starts. Dany flies in with Drogon, and Dany's I don't give a fuck mode was on 100 this whole episode. She was I feel like I was talking to a friend of mine. He agreed. She was probably suicidal. She probably didn't care if she died at that point. The way she took on Euron's fleet head on and lit them motherfuckers up, destroyed the whole fleet. Euron's whole fleet was destroyed. And the Scorpions didn't get a clean shot. And that's the thing about it. Like, I hear people complaining. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of yada yada this. They didn't like that. Here's the thing about it. When Euron killed Rhaegal, element of surprise. They weren't expecting it. Bam, he got a clean shot. They weren't even looking to evade. He was able to get him. Dany knew. And that's the thing I said earlier about the Scorpions, man. If she knows they're there, she's aerial. She can maneuver around them, which is exactly what she did. She was able to get behind them, get on their flanks. They weren't able to reload fast enough and move fast enough to get shot. So she picked them apart. She basically took the entire fleet apart, took apart all the Scorpions that were on the walls of King's Landing. They started to sack the city, and when I say sack the city, the Dothraki. Okay, so when that was happening, on the opposite end of the city, she's taking out the ballistas. The Golden Company's on the main lines, and then Drogon blows the whole walls of King's Landing, just blows them up, which is how the Unsullied and the Northern armies get into the city. Destroy the Golden Company. The Golden Company was used as fodder, cannon fodder. That was all. They brought them over just so they could blow them up. They get slaughtered. Grey Worm kills the head of the Golden Army, which was cool. That was good. Grey Worm was in complete murder mode. Him and Dany him and Dany was in the same mindset of we killing anybody. And so, I mean, this was epic, man. The whole sacking of King's Landing was really epic, and it was just drawn out. In watching the inside the episode, Benioff and Weiss were talking about how they really wanted you to get the perspective of what it was like to be on the ground in the middle of all the chaos when the city was falling, and it was there, especially from Arya's perspective. And we'll talk about that. So Arya and the Hound, they sneak into the Red Keep, and they're right. When they're coming into the map room, the big floor map that we've seen in all the episodes. And they're getting ready to, they're getting ready to run up on the Hound. I mean, on the mountain in Cersei. We'll get to that. I'm sorry. I'll get back to that. But that's coming up. I forgot. I'm jumping all around. Before that, Cersei's in the keep. She's watching everything going on. Qyburn comes up and tells her, "We need to get you out of here." She was like, "The Red Keep hasn't fallen. We only need to get one good shot on the dragon." She was like, Qyburn's like, all the Scorpions have been destroyed. He was like, Euron's Iron Fleet still controls Blackwater Bay. He said, nope, they're sunk too. So then they finally decide to leave. She's leaving. That's when they run into the Hound. And Arya, before that, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, this is the worst review ever, but I'm still so, this was insane. Arya and the Hound are in the map room. The Hound tells Arya, you don't want to do this. You don't want to be like me. I've been on this path forever. You still have a chance to change. You're going to die if you stay here. I'm going to die. Everybody here is going to die. You need to leave. So they have a good goodbye. She actually called him Sandor for the first time, and I thought that was actually pretty nice. Where she said Sandor. Thank you. That was a touching scene. I actually like that. So then Arya starts to try to leave the city, and the Hound goes to fight his brother. And yes, we got Clegane Bowl finally. And in my opinion, it lived up to the expectations. I loved it. They was swinging their swords at each other. It was heavy blows. I loved it. I loved it. At one point, it looked like the Mountain was about to give him the Oberyn treatment with the stuck his hand in there. Hound stabbing him. He's like, "Why won't you die? Just die." It was awesome. I loved it. And then he finally stabs him in the eye. The Mountain drops him, but he's not dead. He's still, so the Hound just gives him a fucking football tackle through one of the castle walls as the castle was burning and falling. It was epic. It was so epic. And they fall from like the highest peak of the Red Keep just straight into fire. I mean, I was like, yeah, that's a worthy death for the Hound right there. That's how you gotta go. You took your brother out in the most glorious way possible. Bravo, bravo. I enjoyed that. Okay, so we'll get back to I skipped a whole bunch of stuff because I wanted to talk about Clegane Bowl and that. But let's rewind. So after Dany takes out all the Scorpions, all of the Iron Fleet, all of the Lannister soldiers lay down their arms. They're like, "All right, we quit." They're like, ring the bell, please ring the bell." That would sign that the city's fallen. They surrendered the city. So they ring the bell, saying that the city surrendered. Dany lands her dragon. She's like, "All right." She looks over at the Red Keep, and you just see the hate fill her face, and she's like, "Nah, fuck your surrender." And she takes off and flies towards the Red Keep. Now, here's the thing. I was trying to hold out the benefit of the doubt. I was like, okay, she's probably just going to go fly to the Red Keep and destroy that and get Cersei. And then she started burning up everything. And I was like, oh, no, she's not. She's going to go ahead and do the full Mad Queen thing. And when I say she burned the whole city, she burned the whole city. I mean, she burned parts of King's Landing that we had never even seen before. We was getting aerial shots of it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what King's Landing looks like from that angle. I mean, man, she burnt the whole city. It was crazy. It was insane. It was nuts. It was nuts. Dany went full Mad Queen. And we got to watch for like 40 minutes. I mean, it was nuts. So then Jaime, before, like I told you, Jaime wasn't able to get in the Red Keep, so he had to find a different way to get in. Tyrion had told him about the secret back way in that he was going to use to get Cersei out and get her to the little skiff boat and sail the Pentos. He uses that to get back in, but right when he's about to go in, he runs into Euron, who was able to jump off of his boat before it was destroyed by Dany, and he swims to shore. He's like, "Kingslayer!" Him and Jaime get into this huge fight, and he almost kills Jaime. He almost kills him. I thought there was many reasons to kill him. I was like, if you guys have Euron kill Jaime, that would have been whack. And they kind of did, but they didn't. Jaime didn't die by Euron's hands. Euron thinks he killed him, but he didn't. But then Jaime was actually able to kill Euron, gives him the super duper sword to the chest. As Euron's dying, he's like, "I'm the man that killed Jaime fucking Lannister." It was great. I liked that, even though he didn't, but that was a great line. I liked that. So, Euron is now dead. Varys is now dead. Qyburn is now dead because he died when the Hound showed up to fight the Mountain. The Mountain was like, "Yeah, brother, I've been waiting for this. Let's get this business." Cersei was like, "No, Sir Gregor, I need you to stand by my side." He was like, "Man, fuck you. I'm going to kill my brother." And then Qyburn was like, "Hey, Sir Gregor, stand by the queen." He grabbed Qyburn and was like, yak, threw him down the stairs, crushed his whole skull. He was done. See you wouldn't want to be. Thanks for coming, Qyburn. So then you have, I already told you about Clegane Bowl, which was nice. So Cersei's, at this point, she's just by herself in the map room as the chaos is falling, and she sees Jaime. Jaime finally makes it to her, and then he's trying to get her back down to the crypts, back down to where the dragon skulls are at. And we've seen that place many times, and that's where they'll make their escape. They get down there and they find out that all the escape routes have been collapsed. I mean, Dany is, when I say she's leveling the city, she's leveling the city. Civilians, everything, it doesn't matter. Everyone's dying. She didn't care. It was crazy. So anyway, Cersei and Jaime are trapped in the crypts as the castle starts to collapse, and that's how they die. Cersei and Jaime died in each other's arms as the castle collapsed on top of them. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm super glad Cersei's dead. Of course, she was a horrible bitch and she needed to die. Jaime, this just goes to show you there is no redeeming a character who pushes a child from a window. I don't care how much you try. And it also goes to show you Cersei must have the most. No, I'm not going to go there. She's dead now. She's dead, and so is Jaime. I feel like a lot of fans are going to be upset about that, but I don't care. I'm enjoying this last season. If you have a problem with it, you have a problem with it. That's you, whatever. This episode was nuts. To see Dany just go full Mad Queen and burn the entire city, and the Dothraki and the North and the Unsullied and the Northmen all once she said fucking I'm killing everybody, so did they, and they just started murdering everybody in the city. Jon tried to stop them. He was like no, and it was just Arya saw it. She almost died like 4 times. Arya almost died like 4 times trying to get out of the city as it was burning. Oh, it was chaos. It was chaos. And I loved how they filmed it. I loved how Benioff and Weiss filmed this. And not Sapotnich was the director. I don't remember his first name. He's directed episodes for them before. Man, this episode was filmed amazingly. And I love how they wrapped up some of the stories. Jaime and Cersei's death, man. I love when it was over. How they brought up the Rains of Castamere. You could hear it it was. So here's what we got left. Tyrion is gonna have to answer for the fact that he freed Jaime, even though Jaime's dead. So that might cost Tyrion his life. Daenerys is full on Mad Queen now, but she's won. She has won. She is now the ruler of Westeros. Until Jon steps up, because it left Jon. You really left this episode feeling like Jon. You saw that. You saw it. And there was this moment when Jon, before all the battle, I got to talk about this. It was this moment before she decides, before all the battle and everything, they're in Dragonstone. Jon comes to see her. And she tells him, she's like, I told you this would happen. I told you everything. And she was like, it doesn't matter. You're my queen. I love you. She was like, I have no love here. Only fear. And Jon was like, I love you. You're my queen. She's like, is that all I am to you? And then she goes to kiss him. She tries to get him and then he couldn't do it. And she was like, okay, fine. Fear it is. The minute she said that, I was like, oh, Jon, you couldn't have just faked it? Bro, do that thing with your tongue that you did for Ygritte. Jeez, there are lives at stake, Jon. It's bigger than you. But he couldn't do it, and that pushed her over the edge, man. When Missandei died, you got to look at Dany. You got to look at it like this. For different circumstances, this could have turned out differently. But you look at Jorah's gone. She's lost 2 of her dragons. Missandei's gone. She has no one left around her that she's started with. Tyrion, but you see she has very little trust left in Tyrion. And it's just... While it's upsetting to see Dany go this way. It's not expected, and it's upsetting in the fact that I'm sad for her as a character. I'm not sad at what the show's doing. I'm loving it. I think this is good, and I might be in the minority about this because people are bitching about the final seasons. Who cares? I don't give a fuck what you stupid ass fans think. This is still the greatest show ever made. Great episode, in my opinion. One more episode left next week. It comes down to Jon and Dany, man. It comes down to Jon and Dany. I think we gotta have some. I don't know what's gonna happen next week, but I'm so on board for it. I'll see what happens. I'm sure I left out some stuff, but this was chaos, man. So much chaos. King's Landing was destroyed. We lost a lot of characters. Let me see if I can get them all. We lost Varys, Qyburn, the Hound, the Mountain, the Golden Company, even though they don't really matter. And we lost Jamie and Cersei. It's a lot of death, man. A lot of death. Tune in next week, man, for the final episode of Game of Thrones and my final episode recap, episode review of Game of Thrones. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, last one, man. You know how we do. Peace.
We so futuristic on this one.
So faded on a track like this, 'cause the music makes me high. And if I only got one more